Chitchat on a Thursday. So I'm going to just get started chit-chatting, right? Soul awakening chit-chat. Who knows what we might do in it, right? We might read from my new deck. We might read from my old deck or old decks. Welcome in lady underscore r.a.w, Lady Ra 30 or 30. Welcome in. So I wanted to talk about how do I say this? Our soul experiences. Everyone's soul is a part of the divine. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. You don't have to believe it my way, right? I believe in that we all have souls. Welcome in the real Shorty Mac. That's my son from another mother. We've known each other a long time. So we all have a different story or believe a different story of creation. And it's okay. All the stories can be different, can be unique and authentic because the divine, which is what I call Almighty God now, it resonates with me, or the Creator. It resonates more with me than Almighty God. I carried that a long time from my Baptist upbringing and my soul searching through, the coming back to my movement through religious dogmas and stories that didn't fit me. I had to choose my words from the divine, right? Because simply there are so many facets or beliefs that we have or labels that we have about the life that we're living. Whether you see it through the matrix or through the illusion that everything is an illusion, this isn't real. Good morning, Al 33. And a lot of people will say, but it's real. I can touch it. I can see it. It hurts when I go through something that is magnanimous, when I have a car accident, when I stub my toe, when I'm walking my dog and my dog takes off and drags me with it. These are real. And what I'm learning over the course of all the questions that I'm asking is that I have to give my higher being or my soul or my spirit, whatever you want to call it, opportunity to be part of this life that I used to think I was living only in body and only in mind. That's me. I use the word have to with me because I experienced it as a person that only thought I was only body or taught that I was only body and mind from a religious aspect or from a aspect of teacher and professors based on book knowledge. Not to say books don't have a lot of knowledge, but books and movies and music and dance and philosophical. It's all a part of how it's leading you through your life. It takes you, these many books and many writers and many composers and lyricists, they take you through their journey, which helps you through yours at some point, right? Hello, Jason. People who write poetry and they write poetry and you say, oh, that's so dark. Well, that's the place that they went through. And that's how they had to bring themselves through it, is to journal it or to turn it into poetry or to turn it into what people will call, oh, that's dark music. Well, that's the place that they were at in their story. So I'm getting all these texts. It always happens when I do a live. So where's that taking me? It's taking me to a moment of being patient, right? Because that's just the vibration, right? So I've been over time, I think ever since I came out the womb, I've been having this vibrational moment with the quantum of the universe. I may not remember, some people can remember their childhood as a baby, and they have that special bonding with that vibration. And then some people remember their childhood from the first, what they would call, what scientists and therapists would call that traumatic moment that woke them up to the world. And sometimes I find that it doesn't have to be as traumatic. I think my moment of conscious reality. There's a difference between conscious and awareness. I believe that every one of us have always been conscious to the fact that we have a body and a mind and that we're living life, right? But being aware that that you have this triune being, this being of what you might call, hold on a second, what you might call, I call it where most people tell, so in sync. I'm just beginning to ask how I can show up artistically to share and inspire. Yes. So let me finish this thought, and then we'll go to what Jason said. Right? I finally understood as I'm moving through asking these embodying questions. I didn't know they were called embodying questions back then when I was asking them from childhood to young adulthood, why things didn't fit for me, why things didn't make sense. I always knew for me that I wasn't born broken. I wasn't born sinful. I always felt I never had to fix myself to be part of God's life. If God so loved us, why would God then, and gave us the opportunity to learn about ourselves, why would God take that away from us and make it so that what we were doing was wrong, and therefore we became sinful? If God wanted to see all of what it created through each one of us, why would it want to see itself as sinful? For me. And remember, your story is your story. Your story is your story. As long as you vibrate in that story, it becomes your belief. And as long as you vibrate in that belief, it then becomes your truth, and that's what you walk in. That's what you walk in, talk in, create from. That's how you become the next version of you. Right? So for me, it was, I finally asked enough questions, and the divine, through the questions, opened information up to me that helped me to understand. The word wasn't sinful. The vibrational word was sovereign. I had to ask more and more questions that are scary for the unconscious part of my mind. Call it your ego, whatever you want to call it. I call it my ego. But I finally learned that I couldn't get rid of my ego. My ego is energy. The energy within me. The energy within me that can speak to and had been speaking for me. If energy can never be created and never be destroyed, then that energy of my ego has to be retrained, transformed, or alchemized. For me. Simple for me, maybe not for you. Take what resonates for you as the individual, unique expression of the divine that you are. I do not believe that the divine would give us an infinite universe, an infinite choices, ability to sift and sort and move through infinite possibilities for us. Even if those infinite possibilities that we take on isn't for our highest and greatest good, we get to learn it. We get to discern it. We get to decide if it flows for us or not. And you go, oh, Sandra, you're on your soapbox. But I believe this is what I have been called to inspire, to motivate, to edify, to educate, to help all of us, not just you, but me and every expression of the divine on this planet grow and expand, shift and expand. You can believe what you want. You know what? There are so many people teaching and sharing, trying to inspire and trying to motivate, that you could go anywhere on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Spotify, on any of these other apps, any platform, and learn. You can learn a little from me, and then go. Somebody can go read or have do a massive reading in cards or books or whatnot, and all of a sudden you say, "Oh, I get that. I can add that to what Sandee just said, and now there's a puzzle piece of my life is formed." You can take what resonates for you, and you can leave the rest. And when I mean leave the rest, don't give any energy to judging it. Just let it flow. Take only what resonates for you and discern that. That's growth. That's expansion. But get this, you also have the free will to judge. The divine isn't going to stop you from judging. I figured that, whew. But I finally understood the universal laws that what you put out, you get back. So even if you're judging somebody else over here, what you put out, it's going to come back to you, because it's that personal. We're not saying that people aren't doing things to you, but I truly believe that the law of cause and effect, if it's so personal that the person that did something to me, because they put it out, even though it was directed towards me, they're going to get it back. I might not be there to see it. I might not be there to see how it comes down to them, whether it comes down exactly how they gave it, how they treated me. But I know that universal law of cause and effect, otherwise known spiritually as karma, will actively be in each one of our lives, whether we believe it or not. See, our free will is predetermined by this duality and this polarity. But the will of the divine that created all the spiritual laws, those don't change. You can't bargain with them. You can't change them. They're energy given a directive by the divine to work on our behalf, whether we believe it or not. So if we don't believe any mumbo jumbo, that spiritual mumbo jumbo or that religious mumbo jumbo, and you're speaking words out of your mouth that aren't for your highest and greatest good, you're still going to get it, because the cause and effect is still going to be viably listening to you and opening doors for whatever you say about yourself or about others. Now, don't get me wrong. Your ego can give you the first step, judgment. Judgment always comes from something back in the past. The past where you were as a lead character in your story, or the past where you were an extra in somebody else's story. But the universe is still listening to you. That law is still listening to you. So that's where that energetic vibrational energy called your ego goes back to get its information. And then it presents it to you like, hey, you've done this before and you didn't get anywhere, so what you gonna do now, right? And you begin to judge yourself. But that's the first step. Because if you take that step and transition into discernment, because you can't change the past. The past is the past. It's energy that has already taken on form. And you already lived it. Now all you're doing is your past is a remembrance of what you already lived. But if you're remembering it and constantly vibrating it in your now, then you're going to be affected by it. Either your body takes on pain for it, your mind gets caught in blockages, or you get sick, or depressed, or these other things. So here's my steps that I took. I didn't deny myself judgment. I felt it. I lived it. But now, because it keeps coming back around, that must mean that I held on to it. Now I can actually go back and say, oh, I judged myself then. I got to go feel that. It may not feel good, but then I can move into discernment of it, because discernment is in my now moment or my present moment. We can't change the past, but you can shape your future. Exactly. Well, for me, my future is my now moment. Right? For me, I call every now moment that I have, even if it's in future tense, a now moment. Because there's a future version of me, dimensionally. This is what I believe. You don't have to believe it. You can go, oh, you're going too far, Sandra. But I'm not here to debate that with you. My page isn't about debating. It's about sharing and allowing you to take what resonates for you and use it for your highest and greatest good. If anything that I've learned is that when I was when I was about, I think between 13 and 16, when I was in junior high school, and yes, I'm old enough to have been in junior high school and high school when it was called that. And I did not, there was a elective that you could take called debate class. And I didn't like the sound of that. It didn't resonate with me, but my counselor said, well, try it. See if you like it. So the first day of class, it was getting to know the teacher and getting the curriculum and blah, blah, blah. But when I started to participate in it, and you were given situations and circumstances that you had to debate. You had to be either a pro, you had to debate the pro, and you had, or somebody else had to debate the con. And a lot of them were, back then, it was just anything that was going on in the world. And I was given some stuff that I said, no. How can I debate something that I didn't even know the word vibrational then. It just didn't fit me. Why do I have to debate this? Well, it's what we do in the world. For me, as you know, between 13 and 16, I just went, no. Right? And I went back to my counselor and I said, has the time lapsed for me to choose a different elective, because this isn't a good fit for me. Right? I've always known to go back and ask. This isn't a good fit for me. Even the making choices to take political science or English, or writing writing poetry or whatnot. I would try it. Political science wasn't my thing. It just didn't fit me. Right? So for me, yeah, I try it on. I come from, my mother would say, put the food before me, and instead of saying I don't like it, she says, well, try it and then tell me how you feel. Because there were some things that looked grody to the max, which is one of the terms that I would, oh, that's grody. Ooh, and she would just say, try it. And some stuff, it ended up, wow, this tastes really good. It looks really atrocious, but it tastes really good, right? And then there were some stuff that I tasted and I went, no. Now, it doesn't mean that my mother made different stuff for me. It just meant that she knew I didn't like that vegetable. So she didn't put it on my plate. And she didn't, my perception of it was my mother didn't trip out about that. I don't know what the perception is of the rest of my siblings or anybody else. I just saw that my mother said, before you judge it, as far as food is, taste it, try it. And I applied that, to a lot of stuff. Some stuff, I'm going to tell you, I was a knucklehead. As my dad would call me, oh, you're such a knucklehead. Only because I was, in some things, I was very determined. Right? I was very determined to get it right, even though I would go through things that were not always working. Right? So, but I believe that we have a view. We can go back and review the past. We just can't live it. Some people live in the past in their now. It's their free will. They can do whatever they want. And if you're part of that story of the past, they will bring it up to you about the past. If you were an active participant in that past story. No matter how much you tell them, well, I'm not there anymore. But they're there. And if you're anywhere in that present moment of them, they assume that you can take that time capsule back and be there with them. It took me a while to figure that out. It did. But it also helped me understand that my judgment of them is not going to change where they are. Why? Because they were given free will just like I was to live this experience, to express life. But I also realized that it's not wrong of me to want to keep moving and being my unique me with the things that I prefer or not prefer, I feel or not feel. Somebody is requesting to come in. Hold on. Just let Peter Art page come in. So you might hear the phone tap out for a second.
Hi, Sandra.
Hi, how are you? So,
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm okay. I'm all
good.
right. Yeah, I've really been interested in what you said there. It was really interesting. And I think sometimes, like, we can't like live in the past, but the future we can shape it. And I believe that when you're born, every little step you take actually shapes you for your adult life.
Right.
And I believe every like you said about karma, you called it something else.
Cause and
I
effect.
believe that, yeah, cause and effect. I do heavily believe that in many ways. And someone said to me, you put in what you get out, or you get out what you put in. There's something like that.
Yes.
And I think, yeah, it's all about what you put into life and what you put in. It's not about like, okay, I'm having this bad moment, I'm doing this, I'm not feeling good. But every time that vibration happens, you're like, each time it's taken away from what you should be focusing on or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I believe that. I mean, the simplest breakdown, it doesn't mean this is the only breakdown. The simplest breakdown for me is if you're caught up in your, if, okay, so let me give an example. If you're caught up in something that has happened in your past and you know that your past has already been lived, okay, if you know that, some people don't know that. Your past has already been lived. So your past is a reflection of the you that you were in your past.
Yeah.
Okay? So
I
when
agree with
something
you.
new bumps up again, and I'll use this word, vibrationally bumps up against you, and it takes you to a recall of the version of you that was in your past, and you get stuck there, you know, you're stuck there in that version of your past in your present. Yeah, you can't move forward yet. It
Yeah.
means that you have to bring that story into your present and then, deal with it there. What do you want to do with it? Do
Yeah.
you want to surrender it and let it go because you're not that person anymore? Or do you want to transform it because a little something something of that version of who you were in the past is still viable in this that now moment? And what do you want to do with it? Do you want to have you seen yourself transmute it to something different that
Yeah.
might be better for your now moment, or alchemize it? In order to alchemize anything or change anything, you have to acknowledge that there's something to change. And most of the
Yeah.
time, we as human beings don't do that because it feels bad to dive into it. It feels uncomfortable. The unhappiness shows up again. And you
Well,
really don't want to relive it, but because you've brought it into your now moment, you kind of have to.
yeah. And plus as well, we're scared. We,
Yes,
we're actually scared of reliving parts of our past because maybe they were good, maybe they were bad, or maybe they were a bit indifferent. And I think sometimes we get to a point in life where we go, you know what, Effie, just let it go and just be in the moment that you want to be in. Like, and I think it's about the individual and how the individual chooses to sort of live their life. Do they live their life in victim state, or do they live their life in sort of or do they live the life each day, or do they sort of want to be in that victim state as well? Because some people don't. Some people like
Exactly.
staying in the past because they don't want to go into the future. They're scared. Like they're scared. I think we've had this conversation before. They're scared of the unknown.
Yes,
And
they're scared of their unknown. The reason why most people will want to be, there's a difference. Some people don't know that they're in that victim mentality state, and
mm,
then there are some that do know that they're in some kind of victim mentality state, but they don't want to leave it, because who would they be if they started to step out?
yeah,
That's the scariest thing. Who would I be if I stopped being a victim? Oh, nobody will look at me. Nobody will help me out. Nobody, I'll be alone. Because
yeah,
when most people are in victim state, they have a lot of people on looking. Even if it's negatively on looking, they're still part. My mother used to tell me that you can uh, whether you have good publicity or bad publicity, it's still nonetheless you're being looked at.
yeah,
If it's kind of like I don't know, it was something about, I don't know, I think it was back then, it was a singer or something. I don't know if we were talking about, I know it wasn't Al Green or whatnot, but there was some bad publicity going on. And my mother just said, well, sometimes people don't care if it's bad publicity, they're still getting noticed,
yeah. What's the
right?
saying? Bad, bad publicity is publicity. And
Yeah.
the thing is, well, what we've got to realise, and I say to people, I was having this conversation today, actually, with someone, and I said, what the problem is everyone has an opinion, everyone has judgment on an issue or whatever. But what we're living in now is a place where you've got to be careful what you say, you've got to be careful what you do, you know. And it's like, well, okay, I'm being careful what I say, but it's not my true opinion on something, because I'm scared I'll offend someone. And sometimes we get into that narrative of, oh, what happens if I offend someone? What happens if I offend someone?
Right.
And it gets to a point where you start like vetting what you're saying. And I think the thing is, like, I can disagree with you on certain points on things.
Right.
Doesn't mean it doesn't mean I dislike you.
Right.
It doesn't mean I because I love our chat, Sandra. I love talking, and I love talking to you because you can get to the root of everything
Oh, thank
sometimes,
you.
and that's what I love. And that's what I love. I love our little discussions like this because I'm not going to agree with everything you say, but it doesn't mean I hate you. But what we have now is we have people who like to disagree, get their points across, and then when you challenge their point of view with yours, they don't want to hear it.
Exactly. I've
And
lived
it's
some
like,
life like that. It's like some people, and understand that this is, first, it's a free will choice, and it's an allowance that hold on, it's the divine is allowing us to have an expression of ourselves.
mm,
But some people, because they don't want to deal with themselves deep down, they will keep the debate going on to avoid the moment they can tell you all about yourself. And the moment you have that pause, and you go, well, okay, well, you see, I'm surprised you see me that way, or, I never knew you saw me that way. And then, well, let me tell you how I feel about that. They don't want to hear how you feel about it.
Yeah.
And then also when you go, but back in so and so, you did that exact same thing, and they'll be quick to change the story, or they just cut you off and walk away.
Yeah.
Now I
Oh,
know.
change. Sorry.
Go ahead.
But what they'll change the narrative to suit the conversation as
Exactly.
well.
As well.
And it's like we had a little discussion about like we I disagreed with like something you said about everyone's on the spectrum.
Hmm.
But then I can say when you explain it, I can take it away and go, well, okay, yeah, that that's Sandra's point of view, and that's a good point of view. I'll keep that in my head and I'll think about it. But we had a discussion and we were talking. Well, I think that's not right, and that's what it should be. It should
Yeah.
be where people can disagree, still be friends, because
Exactly.
that's what it's about. And the thing is, we can disagree, but we have to weigh the other person's point of view to
Yeah, because that's
disagree.
a true conversation.
Yeah,
Because I learned from your point of view when you were explaining it, you didn't want people to just take the narrative of the spectrum and just kind of whitewash it and say, it's kind of like saying, and I'll put it this way. You say to somebody says, Black Lives Matter, right? And then I might say, yeah, but all lives matter. Well, to that person that said Black Lives Matter, based on how, certain, how they viewed that, some Black lives are being misabused and blah, blah, blah. And then I go and say, yeah, but all lives matter, right? I haven't followed it up with why. We're not following it up with
yeah,
why
yeah,
we each have this point, because what I would be saying is, in spiritual sense, there's no separation. When God sees us as, God doesn't see us as black and white. We've got this separation that in spirituality has to be merged. But they're
yeah,
talking about what they're seeing outwardly in the world that's happening, right?
yeah.
So yeah, there has to be that conversation.
We have to, and also as well, this is the other thing that I find really interesting, that we don't have difficult conversations.
You and I.
And no, not me and you, but in general, people
Hmm.
don't have difficult conversations. Like like for example, I'm very open about my mental health,
Hmm.
and I will tell you when I'm struggling. And I have struggled this week, and I have struggled a couple of weeks. But the thing is, we are scared to have these difficult conversations because, one, people don't know how to have them,
Right.
and two, people don't know how to start them. And it's like, I just go, yeah, I go full out and I say, but this, and this. And then what you get is you get people who are scared to say the opinion because you've come out with something, you've come out with
Right.
an opinion that is based on your own sort of issues that you have. But then people run a mile because they are actually scared to have a difficult conversation. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a conversation, for example, about race because I don't know what it's like to be a black person living in America or wherever. But
Right.
I can ask I can ask you a question. What's it like to be a black person in America right now?
And that starts the question. That starts
Exactly.
the
So
conversation.
yeah, and I think that's like I'm not scared to I am not scared to have difficult conversations.
Hmm.
I actually like having difficult conversations sometimes because it stimulates my thought process.
Right.
And also, I think nowadays we are actually very, I'm not using the term snowflake because that's not the right term, but we are very watch our P's and Q's about
Well, we're
certain
taught. Yeah, we're
subjects.
taught. We have been taught to do that for as long as human beings have been on this earth. We have been, and I hate the word pre-programmed, but we have been programmed to not question anything, and in not questioning anything limits conversation. We have
Yeah,
been taught to we have been taught to judge it, but we
yeah,
haven't been taught to discern it so that we can have have a what do you call it, a authentic uh, version of ourselves, ask questions to other people and have conversations. When we get what another person's answer is, go, instead of judging it, go into discernment. We're taught
yeah.
to judge other people and their opinions or their thoughts or their patterns. Of how they're perceiving things. We judge it,
Mhm.
therefore we limit ourselves because we're not going to have a conversation with somebody,
No,
because when we judge that person, we're already saying they're not worthy to have a conversation with us,
obligation.
because they
Yeah,
don't
I,
see us the way, they don't see the situation, circumstance, or conversation the same way I do. Therefore
yeah,
I can't talk to them,
exactly.
right?
Yeah. I'm like, I will argue my point. Now, this is the thing. Sometimes I've had to argue a point
how
because
does
I've
that how does
challenged it. And the,
How does that make you feel when you feel like you get to this point where you have to argue it?
do you know what? Right? I don't feel it's it's maybe that's the wrong. Yeah, it is the right type of word. But I don't feel any sort of remorse. But what happens is I feel actually. Oh, what's the word? It's gone out my head. But I feel very rejuvenated by it sometimes because sometimes I've had to argue a point that that I've that someone else has raised about myself where I've gone, hang on now, I disagree with you on that. When I say argue, I don't mean like you. I go, I disagree with you on that because
Hmm.
I'm not you. You don't know me. You don't know the life I've lived, or you don't know anything
Hmm.
about me. So, but I say, what makes you think that? What makes you think I am A, B, and C?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I, man, I won't argue. When I say argue, I don't mean like shouting or like saying
Okay.
you
So
effing this,
instead
you.
of using the word argue, we can use the word debate.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably a better
Yeah.
word. But I think I've had to do that all my life
Hmm.
because people have said things about me which are hateful, and I've just
Hmm.
gone, yeah, well, you don't know me, so get to know me.
Yeah.
Like, so
That,
it's
and
like,
that's the perfect thing. So get to know me. Let's have a conversation. You know only what you see in this moment between me and
yeah,
you. That pretty much people are making their assumptions. Either they're making their assumptions by something somebody else told them about you,
yeah,
and
exactly.
they're going off, yeah, they're going off of that, or in that now moment, the conversation or the situation or the interaction that you had with them, that's how they think they know you. They know
Yeah,
you. When I say it, you know, that all caps with an exclamation point. They think they know you in that moment. They don't know what you went through. They don't know your problems with mental health, your problems with family or friends, or they don't know all of that, but they know their now moment and how they interacted with you. And I love how you
exactly.
say, so get to know me. Let's have a conversation. Let's
Yeah,
talk about, let's not only just talk about me, but let me get to know you,
yeah. And
right?
as well. I see it when I tell people I have autism, and I see it more prominent because I can see their brain think, oh, he's going to be, oh, we've got to have to look after him. Oh, we've got to have to do this. Oh, he's autistic. We've got to like really explain things to him. Oh, it's there. And you can see the cogs turning in their head
Yeah.
and you're like, okay, you have an opinion. Go on, Mo. And then,
Yeah, but
but I,
see, that's what I was saying about, I'm sorry.
oh, you're zooming out. Oh, you're back. it's,
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
like,
And you were zooming too. That's what I was saying about the moment somebody gets a label, their cogs start turning based on the vibrational story behind the label. I'm
yeah,
not saying labels aren't wrong, but what I'm
yeah.
saying is the everybody has a different perception of what that label means to them.
To them, exactly. And I think as well, this is like when I've looked at it and when I've thought about it in a deeper meaning, and I've gone, oh, okay, what is autism to me?
Mhm.
And I've always I knew from an early, as I think I've said this to you before, I knew from an early age I was different.
Mhm. Yeah.
But as I've always said, labels don't define us. They make us who we are. And the thing is, with a label, like we said, can make
Label
one
can make one
take on that.
on those. Yeah.
Yeah,
I truly believe that. So if we have a label and the label takes on a negative persona vibrationally, then that label can start to make us feel that we're not worthy. We're not, oh, I'm unhappy. Oh, nobody's going to like me. Oh, I'll never be healed from this. I'll always be broken. So it depends on what, what persona or characteristic that label is giving off.
exactly. And what have I always said to you about? We had a conversation about labels, and I loved that That was one of my favourite conversations me and you had. And I
Yeah.
think a label can be good,
Yes.
but it's how the person with the label goes about it. Now, what I mean by that is we've said this before, and we were talking about labels. I think it was one of your podcasts, Sandra, where we were talking about, well, how do you feel about the label? How do you feel about the label autistic? And I go, well, you know what? It's part of me. I'm embracing it. Now, when I first got diagnosed, I spoke to a fella who's in his 70s about it. And I said to him, how did you deal with getting to know? And he said, when I found out about I was autistic, I learned to embrace it. And
You,
yeah,
you
it's a
did?
label.
Well, that's the
Yeah,
same thing that you said. With all that you
yeah,
went to go through to find out, because you knew it wasn't depression, and finally the doctor said to you, "Hey, do you want us to test you?" And you
yeah,
said, "Yeah." And then
yeah,
the moment you found out, you go, "Now that makes sense."
exactly. And that's what I say to people because people ask me, oh, I think I have autism, but I don't want to go through the diagnosis. And I say to people, well, you know what? It just makes you a bit, when you get your diagnosis or something, it just makes you a bit more aware of yourself and a bit more, yeah, that's why that happens. That's why that happens. And I think, like every label, it can have good connotations, bad connotations, but it's how you as the person receiving the label
Yeah,
does.
absolutely.
You
And
know what I
I
mean?
think
So
I think from my point of view, because I always go through of late, the last maybe 5 years, maybe even maybe 10. I've been just looking at this from a a a creator, the creator that created us all equal and truly equal in this experience. The only difference is we as human beings, all of us, even those who are in controlling in, you know, the politics and
Yeah,
blah,
yeah,
blah, blah,
yeah,
right? And this is not right this second that we're living in. This has been throughout centuries of us taking the perfection that we are to have this experience and changing it so and balancing everyone else's right to be here in their form that they're in, and saying, well, if you look at me, this is what perfection is. If you look at
yeah,
me, this is what a healthy mind is. If you look at me, this is what, these are all the basics,
yeah,
right? The scientists look at the
yeah,
brain, and this is a healthy brain and this is not a healthy brain. And so they have, and then they have to break everything into labels. Because
yeah,
when I was coming up between 1960s and the 1970s, and maybe the very beginning of the 80s, they lumped all mental health into psychotic health. That
yeah,
you had schizophrenia, or and it would be either schizophrenia, or they would diagnose it in that little bucket, right?
yeah,
But that was what, and they were basing it off of what they thought uh, a perfect mental health was, and they
yeah.
we're also
I,
basing it off a very small scale of testing that they did. They didn't test the whole world. They didn't test
yeah,
every person.
yeah,
So
yeah,
what? And they were the ones that were creating the labels.
yeah. And I think as well, I had a little funny thought the other day, and I was just sitting where I am now,
Hmm.
and I thought,
Are
do you
you
know
ready to
what?
share it?
Yeah, I'm going to share it. I just had this little funny thought, and I thought, you know what? When God was making people, he must have just thought, oh, you know what? I put I put a different brain in that person, or I put a different brain in that person as well. And I just thought, well, wouldn't it be funny if, like, God was up in his people making factory? I don't know where this was going, by the way. I just had this, like, really kind of funny thought, and I was like, well, wouldn't it be funny if, like, God was in his people making factory and he just went, oh, well, I might just change that a little bit, or I might just do this a little bit, or I might just, and I was like, that's why we have autism, that's why we have this, because he was sitting there going, right, and I just was like, where did that thought, I know when you have that just little crazy thought for a minute, and
Yeah.
it made
And
me
here's
laugh.
my thought. Can I share one with you?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, go on.
So so yesterday and the day before, we somebody mentioned platypus, right? And and we were joking about it. Then yesterday, me and this uh, one of my neighbors, we were sitting in the run with our dogs, and somebody came in and mentioned platypus, and then we just started cracking up because we were joking that, have you ever looked at a platypus? Have you ever really looked at a
Yeah,
platypus? It has a
yeah,
duck
yeah.
bill,
It
it
looks,
has, bird feathers, it has all of,
has
and
a big,
I
like,
was,
nose, doesn't it?
pardon?
It has, like, a big nose, doesn't it, or
Yeah, it
something,
has a
or,
big build. It looks like it could be a duck, it looks like it
yeah.
could be a
And it
a
looks like,
bird.
the tail looks like a tennis bat.
Yes. So
Yeah.
the first day, me and my friend, me and my neighbor, we were laughing and we were saying, yeah, that was like God was testing some of his vegetation, like his shrooms or some of his marijuana bushes or whatnot, and he was testing it, and he said, "Ooh, let me make this and let me make that," right? So the next
So that's
day,
where that, sorry, I
yeah.
was just going to say, that's where that thought come from. I must have been tapping into your thoughts, Sandra.
Yeah, because the next day said they were saying we were talking about all the different kind of creatures and stuff, right? And somebody had just came into the dog run yesterday, and they said when we were kind of like a exactly, with all the different parts. When I got Mr. Potato Head, there were
Ah,
so many parts that I could make to make him different, right? So my room, not my roommate, but my neighbor told the other lady, yeah, we're laughing. Cassandra had said, and then I remembered that who's that comedian from Mork and Mindy? Um,
Robin Williams.
Robin Williams, he did a joke about the platypus, right? And he was
Yeah, I
also
think
talking about I think God was high when he made the platypus, right? And it was like, so we were really joking. And what started it was I told my neighbor, I said, I am still trying to figure out. They said, and this is people who studied the Jurassic world and the Cretaceous world and everything, that uh, crocodiles and alligators are cousins. So here's my Gemini young mind going, well, who were their uncles and aunts? Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
the thing.
I think yeah. I think it's like I don't know. It was like I've been writing a lot of poetry lately. I haven't been doing much with art. I've been writing a little bit of poetry, and I've been getting really into that like creative state of like writing what I'm thinking quite a
Right.
lot lately.
Right.
And I started a new page. This must be the 20th page I've started. And it's still, I think you follow it, Sandra. It's just a poetry
Mm-hmm.
page. And
Yeah.
I'm starting to get a few followers who are all poets and stuff, but I'm enjoying finding new creative outlets
Mm-hmm.
and that. And it's like when, like, as we're going back, like labels are there to make you know. That's what I always say. Labels are there to make you know. And it depends on how you use them, really. That's what I was trying
Exactly.
to think of before.
Exactly.
And it's like we can use, we can say, oh, Peter the autistic, oh, Peter this, oh, Peter that. But I actually embrace it. I love being autistic. Sometimes I hate it. Other times I love it. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah, like that's a bit of a controversial like thing at the moment because I said to someone mentioned the cure, and me being me, you know what I'm like, Sandra, I like to stir the pot a little bit. I just turned around and said, do you know if there was a cure for autism tomorrow? And they all started looking at me because they know what I'm like. They know I'll just say things off the cuff. I went, no, if there was a cure for autism tomorrow. I think I was in one of my angry modes at one. I went, I'd fucking take it. And they all looked at me like, what? Where did that come from? But I think I wouldn't take it. I'd because I love him. I embrace what I am. And the thing is, sometimes my brain will just go 10 to the dozen. It won't stop and it'll just keep going and going and going. And then I'll have this moment where everything doesn't make sense, everything, and then I'm angry, and then I'm sad, and then I've upset someone, I've done this, I've done that, then I've fucked up friendships. Sorry for my language there. I've messed up friendships. I think I've done one this week as well. So, but like the thing is, I take ownership of it. I take ownership. And the thing is, the labels are there for you to take ownership, not for you to play, oh, look at me, I'm the poor autistic person, because I don't like that. And I've always said that to you, haven't I, Sandra? Like, just because I say I'm autistic, don't treat me any different. And I always say that.
Well, that's what I'm saying is the label from how it was created is to that vibrational spiritual label. You could have a positive label and a negative label. I think for a while that label was in the negative ionosphere, where
Yeah,
if you said autistic, then everybody felt like you were broken. They felt like it was a disease. It's not a disease. It's just a
yeah,
different way your brain or anybody else who is autistic
yeah,
takes in and assesses the world. They're
yeah,
assessing it
exactly,
differently.
exactly. And the thing is, as well, is now everyone calls it ASD,
I've never.
autism spectrum. It's
Okay,
called in Britain. They call it ASD, and it's autism spectrum disorder. Now I say to people, I don't have a disorder. I don't like that.
let's see.
Yeah,
I've met many brilliant people that are slightly or had some levels of autism. Well, see, that's where this whole conversation uh with uh with Pete and I had started most recently, is because I believe that all of us started out autistic, if that's the term you want to say, because autism is creative. That's where our brain started out when we were born. All of us had that ability to think like people who we label as autistic and label that they've got disorders. We all started there.
yeah,
It depends on how we take off in the world, where we use it and where we don't. Some of us just stop using it because they told us in certain, dialogue when we're in school, oh, you shouldn't be ambidextrous. You know what ambidextrous is? You can use both of your
yeah.
hands.
Both
But in
hands.
in
Yeah,
in
yeah,
in Christian or Catholic society, using your left hand to write with is evil. It's of the devil, right?
yeah,
So they trained us to only write with our right hand. And it's been downloaded in that that uh, that vibrational ionosphere of who we are, that if we write with our left and our right hand, oh, we're broken, something's wrong with
yeah,
us. If we think, if we put everything in random numbers, something's wrong with us. If we don't look directly in someone's eyes while someone's talking to us, and we put together puzzles while people are talking to us. Oh, you're not paying attention to me. You need to focus
oh,
on me. Something's wrong with you. But we were born this way. I just truly believe that the label, as it's described, means from their point of view that you're broken. You're but you're not born broken. You're born with the capability to use all of your brain, 100%, 150% of your brain. And then we were taught or told that, oh, you only use 1/4 of your brain, less than 1/4. So anybody who's doing that is and doing that as overkill, something's wrong with their brain. We got to fix them. They're broken. That's a disorder.
yeah.
This is an illness. I don't believe autism is an illness. I
It's
believe
not.
I just believe that some of us came a little further from our autistic spectrum of how our brain is working. And when you're talking about kundalini, and the
Yeah,
kundalini effect, opening up your kundalini, that opens you up to everything of your mind if you do it
mm,
right. That's why you
yeah,
had these, when you hear people who go, oh my God, everything's open, oh my God, oh, I start getting all these downloads. Those downloads were the way you used to think before somebody told you that you shouldn't
yeah.
think that way.
And
I'm
I think the
passionate
thing is,
about it.
yeah, yeah. I love it. I love it, Sandra. I love it. I think the thing is, what we have in society now is there's this sort of thing that I noticed before before I was autistic, and it was like, like certain people. There's a certain type of person, right, in the world that likes. Now, how can I say it? I'll be very careful how I say this, but no, like you have a gay best friend,
Hmm.
right? But I noticed this thing where, or a trend where women would want to have a gay best friend. And I noticed this quite a lot. And I was thinking, is autism like getting like that where they need to have an autistic best friend to see to be trendy? Because this was another thought I had. And I've been having quite a lot of these things lately
Hmm.
where I'm seeing trends like, oh, I have an autistic best mate. My brother's autistic. My dog. I say like, well, is your dog autistic as well? And they start laughing because it's getting trendy now to say, I know someone with autism, and I'm like, oh, okay, you know someone with autism. That's one person because
Yeah, but that's I looked at it the same way for a minute, but only with people, like having a white best friend. And then
yeah,
when things come up and whatnot, oh well, my best friend is black, right?
yeah.
And that's a
That's what
qualifier.
I was trying to think of the right way to say this because it was like because I think like everything that I've noticed lately around the autism, around being autistic, is that like everyone will know someone who's autistic.
Well,
Everyone will
and I
know
think
someone who's
that's
autistic.
yeah, and I think
And
that's good because it's the
yeah,
opening.
I do, but this is where I'm coming from.
Hmm.
When like everyone knows someone who's autistic, right? And they see that person, they know their characteristics and they know what they do and how they struggle. Then they meet me, for example, and think I'm like that, like their friend or whoever, where I'm different. I, I, I say, like people say, and it's a well-known saying, you met one person with autism, that's one person.
Yeah. And I think for me, I had to grow in that because that one person opened my world up to understanding. And
Yeah,
then there were other people that, finding out that autistic people can have like my grandkids are
yeah,
all autistic, but they each have a different version or a different expression of autism. They're not all doing it the same
yeah,
way.
yeah,
They're not all accessing the information of the world the same way.
yeah.
You helped me, you and what was her
Ray,
her name?
Ray, Ray.
Ray. Yeah. Help me to understand and open up. This is where I get to take a limited amount of knowledge that I had about it and open up my world to more of understanding, even to the point of my youngest granddaughter being nonverbal. She's becoming and watching her becoming more verbal as they're working with her, right?
Yeah,
And but this is where my thought pattern is they're not broken. They're just looking at the world a, a different way, encountering the conversations a different way. And
yeah,
if we can break out and just become open about it, just open about it,
yeah,
just then we start to understand. And then you can also see in you where certain little things you might go, oh, I think that somebody said that was part of the spectrum of, then you find out about people being autistic and also having ADHD, or autistic and being ADD, or autistic and being having psychosis and different things, because you realize that the autism is just the way the person thinks. It's the
Yeah,
ability to think differently and think
definitely.
outside the
Exactly.
box.
And that's where you've hit the two words that you picked on there, thinking differently and outside the box. That's what we do. And you know what? Sometimes it is very challenging being autistic as well. It's not all roses. But the upside to it is I can think differently, I can be different. I don't have to be part of the rat race, if that makes it. I do my things the way I do them. Like yourself, Sandra, you do your things the way you do them. But I just think, like, I'm creative,
Yeah.
and that's where, like, my autism's creative, being creative, writing poetry, doing art, uh, and whatever, because that's my special interest as well. So I like to share. I like to do my special interest, and I think, yeah, it's good that we're different. It's good that we're slowly talking about it, but things do need to improve as well.
Yes, I agree. And I think the thing is that because each human being is a unique being and will see things differently, yes, there will be people who will say, well, we're all on the spectrum, and they will be trying to negate the fact that
Yeah,
um, the fact that this needs to be brought to the forefront. The teaching needs to better. Everyone needs to learn that everybody in the spectrum world, the I'll just call I like to call it the spectrum cosmic of energy, being that they're not on a line of how autism and the spectrum is that everybody is not experiencing autism. They might be experiencing
yeah,
things where their parts of their brain didn't connect. They're not,
yeah,
their parts of their brain, that they were born with all their connections not fully firing off or whatnot. And this is all of the spectrum. Some people, spectrum is even people uh, 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 are born with like I know a young lady who has something going on with her brain, and it was due to an accident that she had. But now her brain is functioning in a different way for her to see to bring the outside world into her, right?
yeah,
But she's on a spectrum because the catalyst of her brain changed, right? So
yeah,
we've got all these new labels that they haven't really labeled yet, so they throw them in the spectrum arena until they figured it out. Well, they did that the
yeah,
same way with saying in 60s and the 70s and part of the 80s, that all the mental problems people were having, either you were schizophrenic, or they didn't even know the word of bipolar then. All of that was thrown into that that big suitcase, and they said, we'll just throw it all in here until maybe one day we figure it out, you know
yeah,
that
yeah,
that
yeah,
kind of thing. But I believe we all started out very cosmically
yeah.
vibrant in our
Okay,
brain,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
then yeah.
I get it. And
And
I think as well is that, like, I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about it lately, about like what was it? There's something coming to me head the other day about it, and I was like, right, I need to write this down. I wrote a poem
Mm-hmm.
about like being autistic and weight. I've wrote loads of poetry, but a lot of people don't know I do poetry until now, where I've been doing it online. I've been writing stuff about autism and men's mental health, and I feel good that I'm finally gonna use my voice to talk about these subjects, because I
Yeah.
don't call them issues, I call them subjects.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think, yeah, I feel that there's things that need to be more aware, and there's things that we need to look at and frame it better. Because I do believe that there's a spectrum out there that everyone is on, just not. It mightn't be an autistic spectrum. It might be a spectrum of life, or and that we are on. But like when people call it, for me, and this is where what for me, when people say it's a spectrum, I just think, well, okay, if it's a spectrum, how wide and how varied is it? And is the other things that like ADHD is on the spectrum,
Yeah.
and that, but it's how do we sort of narrow the spectrum down, which
Well, here's my
you
question.
can't,
Here's my
which
question
you
to you.
can't.
Why would you want to narrow that spectrum down? Why wouldn't you want it to be infinite so that everybody is has a place on it?
But
So then
that's what you just,
everybody does it. Hmm?
yeah, you just took the words right out of my mouth, because that was the next thing I was going to say.
Mhm.
You can't narrow the spectrum down in the respect that like there's loads going on. There's loads going on with people that we wouldn't know. Like they could be, no, like when astronauts go into space
Mhm.
and they find a new planet. I think that's what the spectrum's like. Now,
Exactly. It's so
and
vast.
that,
It's
yeah, and I think autism's a little part of it. ADHD is a part of it, but there's some things that haven't been found yet. And I was thinking about the spectrum yesterday. I was like, well, if people say everyone's on the spectrum, so what is it they're on then? What type of spectrum are they on? Because it's like we have the autism spectrum, we have the ADHD spectrum, but then there's the. I think I was thinking about like no, after we spoke last time and we talked about the spectrum, it got me thinking: is the a limbo section where people don't know where they fit in or what category they is? So is it that limbo where people are in limbo of where they don't know
yeah,
what way to
they're
go?
becoming aware of them, or they're becoming first. They're they're honoring themselves that they are conscious enough to say, well, where do I fit?
Mm,
I've always felt like I don't fit in with what the label of perfection is, or perfect mind or whatnot. So where do I fit? So yes, I would think that there's a version of a version and a vibration of that label
yeah,
of of being. I'm something and I'm being something. My
yeah,
mind is,
right.
I'm opening up to my mind. Where does it fit? Well, where it fits is if you leave it as a label. If you get to the point where
Mm,
you take away the label of what they meant by, the definition of the label of what they meant by broken or disease,
or
or or
disorder.
right, and just leave it open to that spectrum of spirit, of vibration, cosmic vibration for me, because
Mm,
I'm trying to utilize the God
yeah,
in me. Then
yeah,
you start to go, I'm open to just being me. And I'm thinking in a whole new way,
Exactly.
you know.
Exactly. And that's the thing. I think like the limbo. I don't know. I like the phrase the limbo section. The limbo section for some reason. But I think like when I was when when I messaged you last time and we said, well, I disagree with people on the that everyone's on the spectrum. What I meant is that people, yeah, are on the spectrum somewhere, but they just don't have. They have like, like you say, oh, I'm in limbo with this. I don't know what's going on, and I think there's like a type of state of where you're confused, and it's called. I think it's personally called the limbo state, where you're just like, well, do I fit in this category? Do I think fit in this category of person? Do I fit in that category? Do I fit in, or don't I fit in that category, or do I fit in something else which is not probably on the spectrum? And I
Exactly.
think that's where like it's like where you're questioning it, and you're going, well, yeah, okay, I might be this, I might be that, and that's like why I believe everyone's not on a spectrum, but they are. If that probably won't make sense in what I'm saying, but like everyone is in that limbo spectrum where it's like, oh, which way am I turning?
Well,
And that,
it's kind of like if you take the spectrum. Let's take that. Here's my vision of the spectrum. You've got all these glowy lights and these flashy stardust and everything, and this spectrum goes on and on, right? So if you look at a spectrum and the spot on the spectrum, and you take all our planets that we do have names for, and you put them on that planet and say, well, some of us are in the category of this point on the spectrum. Some of us are in the category of Earth on the spectrum, Pluto on the spectrum, Neptune on the spectrum, Saturn on the spectrum. um, what else is there? Um,
Venus,
Pardon?
Venus,
Yeah, Venus on the spectrum, all these different planets, right? And then you've got all these, you still got room on this beautiful starlight of stardust for more points of light or points of spectrum to be on or be in. And
yeah,
if we transfer that to how our mind is working, the spectrum is in our mind and infinite of what we become, what we're thinking we're becoming. And
mm,
I can see a lot of the little things that my grandkids do that I've done. And I never even thought that it was a broken thing, or that I was broken, or uh dis discombobulated, or that something was wrong with my mind. It was just who I was and what I did, right? It's kind of like somebody it's kind of like I when I was younger and I knew nothing about younger, in my late teens, early 20s. I knew nothing about spectrum, okay, and barely knew anything about the the psychological uh, brokenness
yeah,
of a mind. Okay, I remember me and my friend. We were coming home on the bus, and we saw this young man, and we were walking behind him. So we were looking up front, and when he was walking, he would skip. You know how they would have the little, back in that day, they would have, like, the concrete would have little squares, and then on them, little cracks in it and stuff. Well, he would skip certain stairs. He would count, skip a stair, skip a square, and if he hit the line of a square, he would go back, recount the squares as he was walking to make sure that he's stepping inside the square and not on the lines. That was how his mind worked. His mind worked that he was, and I remember his mother, or I don't know, mother or grandmother, whoever, We asked, we didn't say, he's crazy. What's wrong with him? Why is he doing that? We just asked to her, not to him, why do you do that? Right?
Yeah.
Right? She told us, ask him. And she told us his name. She says, always say his name first, get his attention. So my girlfriend goes, you ask, right? Okay, I'll ask. So I called his name and I said, why do you go back and start over again with the with how you walk? He says, I remember him saying this to me. I'm present in the box, but when I touch the line, I'm crossing boxes. Now it
Right.
makes sense, right? I'm stepping in the
Wow.
box. The box is his now. When he's walking, each box is a now moment. When he touches the line, he's crossing dimension, the vibration of another box. He's not actually inside the box. He's he's he wants to be present in that box, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean? I didn't
yeah.
understand that till, now that I'm learning about interdimensions and all this stuff. He was already embarking in that. Do you
Yeah.
know what I
Wow.
mean? It
Wow.
wasn't
Yeah.
to me, now that I know it, it wasn't he's broken, you've got to fix him so he stops
Mm.
going back and starting again. You got to just
Yeah.
go ahead and let
Yeah.
him do it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
happens is he
Mm.
gets better at the more he does it, he gets better in being in the box and being in us now,
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
right?
Wow.
That's not
That's
to
got me.
me,
Yeah.
that's not a brokenness. To me, that's him already embarking on this energy in him of vibrational learning.
Yeah.
Who knew back in the 70s and the 60s and the 70s, if you use the word vibrational learning, if that would, you know, that could be expressed that way. They were still trying to figure out why the world wasn't flat, right?
Yeah.
How could this
Yeah.
how could this world be round and people not fall off of it? Come on, we were still trying to figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah.
It, right? It wasn't
Yeah.
that 1892 trying to figure it out. We were still trying to figure it out in the 60s and 70s, the 1960s and 1970s. We were still trying to prove that the earth is round, that gravity works, right? And we were trying to
Mm.
fit it all in a limited box so that we can train other people. Don't think outside the box. But this little boy, or not little boy, I think he was like a older teenager, older than, well, I think he was, because we were like, I don't know, 18, 19 or whatever. So he was probably about 16 or 17, but very, very playful in his mind. He wasn't
Yeah.
bogged down with, I don't think his mother bogged him down with being perfect or being broken, or she just let him be. They still got to where they were walking to.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They weren't, I don't
Yeah.
think, and this is a long time ago, I don't think they were so pressured about getting where they had to go. I got
Yeah.
to get to where I have to go, so come on, hurry up. She wasn't there.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
And now I kind of understand it. It's some of the kids that are being born, and they're being born and their parents are noticing, and now that the labels come in, that like you said, the label helps you understand you a little more. But I think sometimes with the vibration of the story of the label coming from a negative point of view, that the parents look at their children as if they need to be broken, or not, they need to be fixed, or they need to have a miracle cure, that they're
Mm.
broken and they're only
Yeah.
there because this is how the label has been presented to them.
Yeah.
Hello, Laura.
And,
How are you?
and I think the thing is, right, and this is like, this is why I love talking to you, Sandra. We haven't done one of these for a while, have we, really?
No,
Right.
we haven't.
And I think the thing is, nowadays, I think with me being autistic, I've learned a lot about myself again. You have to, like, it's like, you know, when people say they're a born again Christian, or
Uh,
I'm a born
I've-
again,
yeah,
yeah, I'm a born again being, because I've had to learn now a whole different skill set, how to manage my emotions, because a lot of people forget with autism, the emotional side is the good and bad. It's good and bad.
yeah,
But the thing is with it is I'm getting in touch with parts of me that I didn't know existed, like me emotions, like me feelings, not being scared just because I'm a man to have these emotions, or autistic and I allow myself now to have these emotions. If
right.
I'm upset, if I'm struggling, whatever. And I think the thing is, being autistic has allowed me to sort of tap in to these things where I was ashamed of. Now I'm like, well, that's just, that's me being in the now or in the present. This is how I'm feeling right now. Yeah, I haven't been feeling good, I'll admit. But the thing is, with the autism, it's allowing me to be my authentic self.
Yeah, yeah. You're changing the definition of the label for yourself. That's all I want people to do is
Yeah,
take the label and make
exactly.
it yours. You know,
Yeah, and I've
change the definition of the label that somebody has put on it, right?
yeah,
It's
and
the
also as well for me. A lot of people ask me as well, well, what do you think? Should I get a diagnosis? And I look at them and go, well, if you want to know, like some people will have a, well, I do this and I do, and sometimes I'll go, oh, okay, I noticed that. I used to notice things like that in myself. And I'm not like saying to them, get a diagnosis. I just say to them, well, you know what? The label helps you understand yourself better. And also, you start noticing your little things that you felt were weird, for example, or etc. That they're part of like who you are, and it's about embracing the label and turning the negative into a positive and changing the narrative of what it is. Because, but like I said, it's a label. Okay, people don't want. People have said to me, "I don't want to be labelled as autistic. I don't want the label. I don't want this. I don't want that." I go, but you know what? I love it. I love it. I love having the label because now I know all these little things that have been happening for years that I thought were weird or scary or I didn't. Now I know
right.
it's my autism and it's part of me, and that's about, and it's about embracing those little things as well.
Exactly. Because, and that's all I want people to know is that they can change the definition of that label. They can, it's unique to your authenticity. It's not about
Yes,
being broken. It's really not about being broken. It's about, I believe we were supposed to always have embraced our brain in just that manner, and embrace life as the ability to vibrationally and interdimensionally with our mind move through our limitations, that we get to now take what most people think as a limitation of being autistic as being very uh, vibrantly open to grow and change, though it doesn't look like some people on the autistic scale don't look like they change very well, because they're, when you look at it, oh, the habit is um, they have to, like with Rain Man. I love that movie, right? But it made everybody think that everybody with autism they have to drink milk at a certain time. They have to watch a certain program all the time at a certain time. They have to, all these things that they have to do. But they're not. Then they got used to that limitation of what
Yeah,
somebody on the autistic scale, or any other scale, not just autism,
yeah.
but any other scale, can only be limited in their mind. So,
Also, there's a bit of that's true. Autistic people like routine, but I'm different. I
yeah, that's
hate,
what I'm saying.
I hate when people plan.
Yeah,
I just go, well, I'm like, right, come on, let's do this, yeah, 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 I want to do this. I'm like the Tasmanian devil. When
let's go get
yeah,
this.
yeah,
And
I'm like,
and
come on,
you
let's do this.
and you
Where
said
my other,
also, you told me that you like loud music, where other people on the spectrum may not like loud music. You know,
I asked someone about that and they said, what it is, you like to be overstimulated. I was like, oh, well, so is that, and I said, is that normal in autistic people? And they said, yes, some autistic people like that. And like I say to people as well, and it's fun, like I go to them, I'm not your fucking typical autistic person. And they go, why? I go, I like loud noises, I like busy places. And they look at me like, okay.
yeah, because
Like,
they're
because
used to that narrative that all people with autism are the same, and they're
mm,
not. But they
no,
they
and that's what I was
yeah.
and that's what I was trying to get when people say everyone's on the spectrum. Like, if everyone's on the spectrum, so is everyone the same? Or is everyone on the spectrum, is everyone gonna be like Rain Man? Is everyone on the so like
No,
when
I
I
think
said I
they're
did,
I think they're when I say that I believe everyone has came from that mindset of for me, that rainbow spectrum.
yeah,
You can look at yourself and you can go, "Oh, now I understand why
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
you know."
and that's
And
what
it doesn't mean that
that's what
you're full on autistic or full on ADHD or full on ADD. There's
no,
certain parts of your authenticity that you go, oh. And I think that
exactly.
by,
Yeah.
yeah, I think,
It's like I like looking at the bigger picture sometimes to understand the smaller picture, if you know what I mean.
mhm.
Because sometimes we look at the bigger picture first, but we never look at the small picture. And
No,
that it's what I mean by that is it's all the little things that you see and that like people can pick up on, like when I'm angry. But I can also, without noticing, I pick up on like what people's next moves are by the way they're acting or the way. And people used to go to me, "How can you do that?" I go, "I just know. I watch people. I'm a watcher." So it's like just them little things. We
yeah,
don't never look at the smaller picture. Sometimes we look at the bigger picture, but we never understand.
yeah.
And I think for me, I've learned to understand a lot more because I have my sister's kids are autistic, so the two
Mhm.
lads are autistic. One's non-verbal,
Mhm.
but I can pick up on when he's upset or when he wants me to do something.
Mhm.
Even though non-verbal autistic people, as you know, are not verbal, they're the friggin' best communicators
Yes. If
because
if
they'll tell
only
it like,
you, yeah, I know.
Like,
that the more they help me open up my world to how they're speaking, you know.
yeah, like if I do something that my nephew doesn't like, he'll just do that, or he'll push me away, and I'll go, well, okay, he doesn't want that right now. But then what he'll do, if he wants the door open, he'll grab my hand and he'll take me to the door, and it's like, oh, you want that door open? Okay, mate. And then he'll go outside and play.
Hmm.
My other nephew is the opposite. He's like, he's like a bit like me. I said to my sister, I said, would you ever get it? My nephew's called Ethan, and I said, would you ever get him diagnosed? She went, why? I went, because he's doing things what I used to do when I was younger. And she went, no, 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 I wouldn't want that label. I went, but girl, he's doing things that I used to do so I could, and then I found out he was autistic.
Hmm.
And then the funniest little incident happened, and I was just not in the mood to be touched or anything. I was having a bit of a sensory overload.
Hmm.
And my nephew comes over and I go, oh, can you just leave me alone a minute? And my sister goes, hey, Ethan, do you know Uncle Pete's like you? And he looks at me and goes, what, Uncle Pete? He went, do you have autism like me? And like he was dead shocked that an adult could have autism. But it
Right.
was a lovely little, but it was a lovely little moment that I shared with him. And I said, yeah, I'm just like you, mate. And he
Hmm.
went, really? No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. But that little moment always sticks in my head.
Yeah,
And it's
because
like, yeah,
it's they're in that moment that nothing's wrong with them. This is who they are. This is their authentic
yeah,
self that they're growing into it. I, I think my uh, my not the youngest one, the second to the youngest one, she can climb anything. She'll climb she'll climb the thing she'll climb things that you don't there's no things to grab hold of to climb, but she's already climbed it, right?
yeah,
And I just said she's to me I said she's going to be the one in the family that climbs Mount Kilimanjaro. And then you know other family members would say, oh my god, no. Like, oh, I don't think so. I don't think she'll be able to do that because they're limiting her by the negative label of autism. She's broken
yeah,
and she'll always need help by someone else to do things.
yeah. And that's the thing. Who's it here, Sandra? Because
Pardon?
there's only me and you and someone else.
Um,
Who's it
yeah,
here?
there's a couple of people. There's like, hold on a second. There's there's you and me and I believe one other person. I think it's
Yeah,
J Brown 20.
Jay Brown.
Yeah. I think they might have come and gone. I mean, I think people came and listened for a while because when I notice when we do morning lives, a lot of the my followers are already at work, right? So
Yeah,
they're coming in through breaks and whatnot, but they watch it in replay, you know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's what I am going to be doing. My going back to doing my podcast, but I'm going to do it on either a Friday night between 5 and 8,
Mm.
right, which is Pacific Standard Time. But
Yeah, yeah,
that gives people who are in the UK and in Australia, they'll be able to see it because that'll be their morning. I think with the
right.
UK, you'll be if I'm doing it in the evening, you'll be able to watch it in the morning on on Saturday, I think, or
Saturday. Yeah,
something like that. So I'm
yeah,
trying to
something
work
like that,
that out.
isn't it?
Yeah. or either a suggestion was made to me to do it on a Saturday, between 1 and 3 p.m. my time.
Is that 12? No, 12's in the morning. Oh, I'll figure that
Yeah.
out.
So
I'll
I'm
figure
trying
that
to work
out.
on it. But right now,
Have you just had a break? Have you just had a break from it?
well, I had to take a break from everything I was doing, the
Oh,
podcasting, the Oracle and light language, uh, card pulling, my star meditations, because I had to, it was the divine cocooning me to take care of my health,
yeah,
because
yeah,
I had to, this is part of what I'm going to learn. I've learned to do for myself and also be able to share with other people.
yeah,
Because, like, remember I was telling you about the label and the vibration of, there can be a positive vibration of the story of a label, and there can be a negative vibration of the story of the
yeah,
label. It's the same thing with man-made medicines and machinery. I had to
yeah,
learn that the story of the radiation machine, it has a story, the energy in it has a story from whoever created the machine,
mhm,
that they wanted to kill uh uh um uh cells that were no longer healthy. Let's say breast cells, that's what it was for me, that were creating cancer, okay, a version of it.
yeah,
And for me it was stage 1. They found it early. So what I had to do was learn how, when I was under the machine, to vibrationally tell a different story to the energy that was going into my body from the machine.
yeah,
I had
yeah.
to become one with that story, that
Oh,
embodiment.
okay.
And even if people at that time, when I was starting to tell my story, there would be people that would come and give me negative information about, oh, my great grandfather died from that, and he or she or whatnot. That's their story and their perception of their story. Thank you very much for telling me that, but that's not going to be my story of what I tell this.
Yours, yeah,
Right. What I, every time, because I had to do it for 4 weeks, right? But that's a
yeah,
short time from the time when I did it before, 20 years ago. So modern medicine, at the request of human beings to the divine, has been upgraded. Now it's time for me to tell the story of what I want that energy to do for me, not
exactly.
somebody who's coming into my live and saying, "Oh, it's the machines are bad, and all the doctors are evil, all the doctors are bad, they don't want you to be healthy, all the medicine that you might possibly use is all big pharma," and make that my story. Well, how am I
Yeah, I
supposed to hear?
remember.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I remember coming into one of your lives, and it was all about. I think it might have been that you were going through the treatments and some of the things. I just felt like saying, like no, like now and again, I just look at. I wrote this poem about when you just look at someone, and it's about like when you look at someone and you just think, oh, what a twat. And I wrote a little poem about it, and I
Mhm.
think what it is now is people are getting the information off the internet, and I think the thing is, and this is like sometimes with being autistic as well, they get the information off the internet, and the internet's not a good place for information like that. And I think, as you're saying, you're taking control of the narrative. You're taking
Yes.
control of the narrative. You don't want, you're going through something that could be life changing. So why do you want every little negative Nelly going, oh, well, this is bad for your health, this is the, and you're like, well, I'm doing it for me, not for you. You're not going through you're not going through the journey I'm going through. So why don't you just piss off?
Yeah, you kind of want
That's
to
how,
say that, but at the same time, that what did we say at the beginning of this is the cause and effect, throwing that out there. but I just let them go, okay, that's your story and that's your narrative, and I'm
Yeah.
going to take it
I
from
just
I'm
can't out,
yeah.
but sometimes though, Sandra, I just can't out myself. I can't
Mhm.
keep, like, and this is partly autism as well. Like, the good thing about being autistic, now, if you were a muppet, is a bad to someone, you can just blame the autism. I would say that to someone and start laughing.
Okay, yeah.
But like the thing is, I can't not tell lies lately. And if people are saying to me, well, what do you think of this? They'll get an honest response. Because I just don't. Lately, I've been like a bull in a china shop. And like you say, karma. But like, I think as well, what we've got this thing of doing is trying to look at where alternative ways of saying, why don't you just shut up? Because sometimes like, you wanna just tell them to F off, and you just wanna go, right, you know what? You that
Well,
conversation I
that's
had with
why
you.
my alternative way is take what resonates and leave what doesn't. And then I feel like they can make a decision from there. I made my
Yeah,
decision to do the radiation treatments. I made my decision that every moment that I was under that vibrational energy, I made the decision to transform the energy going into my body, give it a new story,
exactly.
tell it where I wanted to go and
Yeah.
how I wanted to feel, and what my growth and expectation of healing was. And so literally for that 15 minutes that I was under that machine, I changed the definition and the storyline of
Yeah.
that energy going into my body. It
And that's
you know
sorry. That's the thing though, isn't it, right? You've got to do what's best for number one.
yes.
At
And
the end
what's
of the
best?
day, what's best for you. At the end of the day, people like to have this narrative, oh, big pharma this, big pharma that, doing this, doing that. Well, if you put this amount of stuff in your body, you could have diabetes by the time you're 29. And it's like, can't I live my life the way I want to live it? Or
Yeah.
why do you have to feel the need to get your information off the internet to feed the negative energies that are already surrounding me at this particular time, which I don't want to have? But what it is people read the internet like it's the bloody Bible, and they get everything off. They get everything. Oh well, I saw it on the local newspaper that if you put this tablet up your bum, it'll make your eyes pop out your face. And
Right.
no, and I'm
It's
saying that in that like sort of tongue in cheek because people believe it, and it's like, well, at the end of the day, it's my body, it's my choice what I do with my body. If I want to put 50 donuts down my neck, I will put 50 donuts down my neck. If I want to do this to my body, if I want to drink loads of alcohol and get bladdered every day of the week, then that's my prerogative. And I think that's the thing where I never look at health things on the internet.
mm,
If I'm going to do like, if I'm going to do something, I will go off my own back. Nothing's gonna phase me. If something bad, like my sister was worried about me, and she was like, "Go to the doctors, go to the doctors." And I was like, "All right." And I said to her, "Look, we'll deal with it when it happens. If something's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. We'll deal with it. If I've got to get my legs cut off, I'll get my legs cut off, but we'll deal with it." And I have that sort of like calm response, but in my head, I'm going, "Oh God, what happens if this happens? What happens if that happens? What happens if that?" And
right.
it's like, oh God, shit, why did I say? But I'm just in my mindset now. And I think at the age of 44, I've got into like this sort of mindset lately where whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, it's kind
If
of
it's
going with, I think for some people they're in that flow state of whatever happens is going to happen, and then in that moment we're going to deal with, come, not come to terms, but deal with it as it's happening. And then some people are in that flow state of of discernment and saying, okay, well, I've already discerned that. For me, I discerned that I was going to merge the modern medical technologies and my holistic technologies for my highest good and my greatest health. Right. The moment I said that, not everybody, there were some people that they actually needed to approach me in their fear of, oh, you can't do it. Do you know what's in radiation? Do you know what's in this? Do you know what's in that? Well, no, I don't know the science behind it, but I do know the spiritual alchemy behind me being the creator, and
exactly,
me uh, 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 alchemizing energy, because everything is energy. It's all about how
yeah,
I tell the story,
exactly.
right?
And I
And
think
it's okay before, if one person wants to live their life in fear of big pharma and that always be their story, it's their story. I can't tell them that they can't do it, but if you present it to me, my story is not fear of something. My story is stepping into the unknown so that I can
exactly,
dive into something that might make me healthy for my highest and greatest good, which is always having a conversation with my doctor, even though they might not agree with me, always having a conversation with my
yeah,
oncologist, even though they might not agree with me, always having a conversation with my radiation therapist and technicians, even though they might not feel the way I feel about alchemy and transformational energy. Why?
but I think, yeah, I think, right, everyone has an opinion, but
As
them
we
same,
should.
but them same people that have an opinion don't have the answers.
This is
They,
true. This is
they,
this
if
is
you think
true.
about it that way, they're quick to give their opinion, but do they have the answers to their opinion as well? That's what
And
I
and
always
some of
think.
them don't. But they open up a moment in time where they open up a moment in time where you get to go, oh yeah, I can, let me go meditate on that. They brought up something, really good. Let me go
Yeah,
meditate on it.
let me
Right.
go in and
And and that's how I look at it. I go, that's why I say take what resonates, leave what doesn't. And I do the same for other people. Unless they're being just totally nasty, that
yeah,
they're being, just nasty people. They decide that they want to be on everybody's flowing through everybody's platforms, just being just nasty. They're an evil and whatnot. They're entitled to move in that vibrational negativeness, of negativeness of fear, because just being nasty is that they're fearing something. So instead of embracing something, they're nasty about it. They're entitled to that, but I'm not entitled to listen to it.
exactly. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
If we were like, it's like when people say to me, well, how does your, it's like when people say to me, how does your autism affect you? And I'm like, I think to myself in that moment, well, why do you want to know? Because it doesn't affect you. But I will tell them out of how it affects me, because as they might be going through same things, similar things,
Right.
but I never force my opinion, because I think people who, like, for me, when people say all that, oh, it's big pharma, it's big whatever, then I think they think it's their godforsaken right to force an opinion on them, and it's not. At the end of the day, you want to be better. You want to see your grandkids grow up. You want to see your kids grow up, even
Right.
though they probably are grown up. But and the thing is, at the end of the day, you make that
Right.
decision. It's your body. You make that decision, and well, you're here. You're talking to me now. You know what I mean? And
I'm
that's the thing.
here and I'm
Yeah,
healing. I'm on the holistic part of the journey now. So
yeah.
I'm here, you know.
The thing, if it works for you, it works for you. But like you say, people need to take what resonates and what is it?
Take what
Take what resonates. I
resonates
said it.
and leave what doesn't.
Yeah.
Mainly, I say that because you take what resonates. That's something that's vibrational for you. You're gonna grow. You're
Yeah.
gonna grow through it. You're gonna
I
right.
love that saying.
Yeah. And what
Yeah.
doesn't means that if you don't vibrationally pick up the negative of 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 thinking that you have to argue about it, thinking that you have to be judgmental about it, and just leave it in the room as the energy it is, then you can go on to you might go on to the next, you might flow through somebody else's live and go, oh, wow, I learned that on Sandee's live, and now I learned this on so-and-so's live. Now I can bridge those two, or
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can,
And
right, I can do this.
yeah, and that's the thing. What people have got to stop doing is forcing an opinion. Because I hate it. If someone forces an opinion on me, I go, well, why are you telling me that? Why do you need to tell me what I already know
Yeah.
about myself? or that? And then they go, oh, God, all right, shouldn't have said that to them. It's
Yeah.
like when people say to me, you don't look autistic. And I give them a look for about 2 minutes and go, well, what do you want fucking autism to look like? Do you want me to wave a fucking flag around me fucking head? And they look at me and go, shouldn't have said that. But the thing is, it's like I know about me. I don't know about you, right?
Right.
And I know what's going on with me at the moment with my autism, and I don't know what's going on with you. But I think, yeah, I know. This is where I said about labels being good. Because now I've got to know myself at a point of my life where I'm like, I'm embracing it. I'm
Hmm.
embracing it. I don't care what anyone thinks about autism because I'm autistic. It's like I remember this trainee psychologist coming into a group where I was, and I said to her, well, "What's your background?" I was I'm always inquisitive to know what people's background is when they're working with me as an autistic person, not as Peter, but as the autistic person. She goes, well, I've had so many years working with autistic people, and she's got it, but it caused an argument, this, which I love sometimes causing an argument because I get out what I'm thinking. But then she went, well, why are you questioning me? I've had 10 years in this working with these groups of people who were all on the spectrum. I worked in this, and I just looked at her and went, I've lived it all my life, and then shut up. I just kept myself quiet. I was like, well, you know what? You're telling me stuff that I already know about myself, so why do you need to feel the need? And then it just got, everyone went, well, you know what? You said what we all think, what we all thought. I was like, yeah, because I'm not scared to voice my opinion. And I think if you voice your opinion in the right way, it can be helpful.
Hmm. Yeah.
And that's what I think. And I think people sometimes have got a bit of an accent. We're sorting the world out here, aren't we?
Yeah.
Like, and I think we've just got to learn to live in the world and take each day as it comes.
Yeah. And,
Right?
just kind of
I don't know.
go, yeah, go with the flow. Sometimes your days are going to be really free and easy. They're going to flow. And then you're going to have moments that are going to try you. And and then you go, well, okay, what is this moment teaching me? right? And my phone is about to die, so I want to get off, and I want to make sure that I save this, and
Oh, yeah.
you know,
But as always, Sandra, it was lovely talking to you.
it was so fun.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
so
I love
excited.
it.
Yeah,
Let me just see what impromptu talks
yeah.
and that. But yeah,
So I'm gonna let my phone charge up, and then I guess I'm gonna uh, do a few things, and then I'm gonna piddle around my Canva uh,
yeah.
app.
I'm working on this one at the moment, but if you
Uh-huh.
can see the pencil marks, I'm doing a bigger one.
Yeah, I can barely
Oh,
see
I
the
know. I'll send you the message. Yeah. Oh,
Jay
yeah.
Brown says, thanks for the conversation. It's very informative.
Oh,
Wag's
you're
World, I
welcome.
think, stayed around for a little bit. Wug's World.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, you're welcome. But
Yeah. So
right,
I'm
you
gonna
better get
get
your phone
on.
charged.
Pardon?
Oh, sorry. You better get your phone charged before you
Yes,
go
I
out.
am. I am. So I'm gonna go on my Canva app and look for. Remember, we were talking about the album, for
Yeah,
my
yeah,
for my
yeah.
logo. Yeah. So I'm gonna see what they've got over there.
I haven't forgot on that
Pardon?
as well. I haven't forgot. But yeah. All right. See you later.
Okay.
Bye.
See you. Everyone, have a good day. Bye.